a lot of us thought leaders, we have kids, right? And I think the word influence, when I look at purpose-driven influence, we have down three things: value, leadership, and impact. And I really find myself talking to my kids about influence quite often, especially my 13 and my 17-year-old, because they're in high school. What type of influence are you going to demonstrate? Is it going to be, Godfluence? Is it going to be kingdom influence? Or are we just going to be the class clown? Are we just going to be another pretty girl? So in thought leaders, we want people who are making maximum influence in all that they do. So me, as a person who gets to be around Tim Storey, who I think you guys would all agree is a master at influence. And as Chris was saying, he grew up with that vision from his grandfather, from his father. It was instilled in him. Where I was raised, we weren't raised with the influence mindset. Yeah. We were raised with, how can we just survive? We weren't taught to thrive. We weren't taught to think beyond. But I tell you one thing, being around Tim Storey for 10 years, it'll really change your mindset. It'll really change your perspective. And I know today that I can make maximum influence. And I believe that everybody in thought leaders, has their own calling, and they will make their own influence in their own respective industries.
There's so much on leadership. You look at John Maxwell, some of the other people teach on leadership. Why did you get excited about putting thought on top? What does the word thought mean to you?
Leadership is, at least the way I understand it, it's fundamentally your ability to take responsibility and serve the mission and vision of your organization. So an amazing leader is the person who can get a team to do what they need to do to accomplish the mission.
Yeah.
So that's leadership. But I think thought leadership is taking leadership, but then applying a real vision, pushing the boundaries of what you think is possible.
Yes.
And I think that, every one of us, we were raised with a ceiling. We were raised with a family. We were raised with certain expectations. And so to be a thought leader is to say, I'm not only a leader, but I want to push the boundaries of the ceiling.
Yes.
And I want to change the trajectory of my family. I want to do something my family's never done before. Mm-hmm. And so that's all the leadership skills, but it's also that second element of I don't want to just be a great leader. I want to actually change the trajectory of where we're headed. Yeah.
I like that. I think it's almost like a Lego. Yeah. When you get a Lego. When you're a thought leader, in my opinion, you have to have a correct mindset.
Yeah.
So that's like part of the Lego that comes on just being a leader.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of people trying to be a leader, but they don't put the Lego of the correct mindset on it.
Yeah.
And I really think a thought leader is someone who sets the trajectory of where business and everything goes. So usually, like before an industry really takes off, there's a thought leader that has the kind of emerging vision of what it's going to take to go into that next frontier, and they end up spearheading that, and then you see business eventually catch up to where the thought leader has already charted course.
Very good.
But I think the main difference is that why I like the way that we've set it up with the three building blocks, if you would. A lot of times what I've seen is people wanting to be an influencer first, but they haven't established the vision and the ability. And so you have people that, they may have a lot of followers, but in the end, what are people following? Mm-hmm. And so being a person that is a thought leader is really having a whole encompassing understanding of thought leadership, the vision, the ability, plus the influence.
Yeah. It's interesting. Cornel West has this, he's a philosopher I like and a professor at Yale. He has a great question where he says, if you ask any American who was the most influential African-American in the early 60s, everyone would say Martin Luther King Jr. Mm-hmm. And then he says, if you were to ask everyone who was the richest African-American, do you know the answer? And no one knows. And I think that like kind of plays to that, is that there's something about having a vision and then having a purpose-driven influence and then having an exceptional ability and all those things coming together to create a value that no one else can create.
That's right.
That's so meaningful.
I like that. I think leadership as a thought leader is not just vocal. And if I could say this about you, Joseph, I think a lot of your leadership is not vocal. Some of it is. But even the way you lead your children and lead your family, it's not always you're going and telling all of us about it. We just see it in the strength of your family and the health of your family. So how have you brought thought leadership even to your own children?
Well, I learned from you, right, that we don't have to be vocal, that we can lead through being silent, and it's more through action. So for me as a father, I know I have 5 kids staring at me. So if I'm not going to be a person of influence, guess what? I can't expect my children to be of influence. But if they see us thought leaders with the vision, the ability to influence, because Tim, you talk about this a lot of us were birthed in pain.
Yeah.
I was birthed in pain, alcoholic family. So I wasn't raised with this maximum vision or this ability that you're going to do, supernatural things, or you're going to make or have this positive influence. And I'm sure there's a lot of people and thought leaders who were birthed in pain, right?
Yeah.
So these words, when they hear them, they could sound fearful. Wait a minute, that's not me. I don't have vision. I don't have ability. I don't have influence. But we do it. I do it with my kids and my family in a silent manner. And Tim, I love what you say is we want to be that person who walks into a room and we don't have to say anything, and people just feel the peace and the spirit and the influence that we make. And that's what thought leaders is all about.
Yeah, we could become carriers of leadership without saying a word.
Yeah.
And I got a chance to see that at an early age with some amazing, powerful leaders that didn't say much, but you could sense and feel their leadership.
And one of the things you guys have always admired about Tim, and if you're ever backstage with him or he's going to go speak to 30,000 people or 10 people, just to see the humility he has when he walks into a green room or when he walks into and greets other speakers or the person who's running the conference, it's always, how can I serve you? How can I serve your vision? It's not about, I'm Tim Story, I'm here, I'm the keynote, I'm the guy who's going to deliver the best message. That's done automatically, but just to watch you and the way that you operate and the influence that you carry, which is grabbing a microphone and not even having to say a word, has taught us, younger generation, and you've helped pave the way for us. So it's an honor and a privilege just to be at this table with you.
No, thank you
for this first episode.
And I mean that.
Yeah. I have a funny story about Tim that I'd love to share. It's related to this. So, I went to Africa my first time when I was like in 15 or something, and it was to South Africa. And so we stayed at this hotel in Mandela Square. Mm-hmm. And so every person who like worked at the hotel in the concierge, like all knew Tim and all had like a story about him. Because they knew we were from the church, so they would say, "Oh, you're Tim Story's nephew. Oh, he gave me this tie," or like,
wow.
"Oh, he gave me." It was so funny, and that I never forgot that. It had such a big impact, I think, on my worldview, because I think as a younger male, you look at that and say, "Okay, I got to get my stuff together. Like this is a value. This is how you should organize yourself in the world, and it's going to make a big, big difference."
And I think to me that was about seeing all of us as being unique and being amazing. And so whether it was the guy that was working the front door at that South African hotel or the maids, the maids always become my best friends in all these overseas trips because I'm always gifting them things. Because to me, we're all God's creation. And we all have so much potential. And I just want to pull out potential out of people.
Yeah.
Amazing.